This week in his first speech since Hillary Clinton lost the election, Bill Clinton warned that divisive politics are, in quotes, taking the world to the edge of destruction, end of quote. I kind of said, no kidding, Sherlock. Free speech is clearly under attack. Identity politics that fosters an us versus them atmosphere contributes to a confrontational model that at the very least has led to the most intense level of social discord in decades. But for me, it's part of a bigger issue. If you're a regular listener to the show, you understand that what we're witnessing is the erosion in confidence in government. This is what it looks like. As I've chronicled many times on the show, that erosion is going to be the biggest, or is the biggest financial, economic, and social trend of our lifetime. Today I want to talk about one of the great divisions that's at the heart of this current clash. Symbolism versus practical reality. Let me explain. I hope most people have noticed that we're living in a world awash with economic and financial problems, and none of them will be solved with symbolic gestures or by saying the right thing. I bet the 100,000 who've lost their jobs as a result of the decline in oil and gas couldn't care less that Canada's back. Couldn't care less what the elites in Davos, Switzerland think. I don't see any evidence that words or symbols or symbolic acts are going to solve the debt crisis. They're certainly not going to change the fact that 47% of loans by Greek banks are now non-performing. They won't change the $250 billion in unfunded federal public sector pension liabilities in Canada. Words and symbols won't change the fact that the New York Teamsters pension has run out of money and retiree benefits have been cut in half. No words or symbols are going to change the fact that right now taxpayers in Canada are on the hook for Canada's post-$8.1 billion unfunded pension liabilities. And yet, when it comes to politics, the majority of the public seems enamored with symbolism rather than with specific policies and measured results. It's what Rex Murphy calls the most powerful insight since the Golden Rule itself, in quotes. It's not what you do that counts. It's showing how you feel. Piety expressed in the most gaudy manner possible by people with most extravagantly removed from the problems addressed is the greatest lever of social justice the mind of man has conceived. That is very easily coordinated with the second principle, which holds that if the right people say the right things, it matters very little what they actually do. End of quote. My first-hand experience with that was with the Keystone debate and the rejection of the pipeline with President Obama. The same thing with things like votes on university campuses like UBC and Simon Fraser to divest of oil, natural gas, nuclear, and coal investments. I mean, if President Obama's rejection of Keystone was symbolic, it's tough to argue that it made one iota of difference to global warming, given that 19,000 plus kilometers of pipeline were laid in the States between 2010 and 2015. In addition, it was his administration that lifted the oil export ban on U.S. producers. As for the votes on divestiture on university campuses, they don't lower greenhouse gases one bit. And for all the talk of immediate action needed, not one of the divestiture cloud is willing to swell off petroleum products. It's all talk, no action. But we've been trying the all talk, no action approach on homelessness and poverty for 50 years. We've been talking about global warming for 25 years. For 20 years, we've been talking about the lack of clean drinking water and native reserves. Well, we're past the need for symbols or lip service to solve our most pressing problems. But obviously, there's a huge number of people, I suspect it's the majority, who disagree. And the point to get is that there's no common ground between the two groups or the two approaches. And more importantly, there's not even a dialogue happening. It's this disagreement that plays a significant role in the escalating social discord we're witnessing right now throughout the Western world. What's going on in the States is an obvious example, with the relentless and unprecedented opposition, at times violent, to the Donald Trump presidency. But it's also driving the rise of outsider politics in Europe, along with violent protests. But here's a really interesting thought that I've been considering here. There's a lot of talk about the anti-establishment movements gaining prominence. But I'm also wondering if their rise doesn't mark the decline of the symbolic kind of approach, the touchy-feely driven politics that's dominated recently. Was Donald Trump's election part of the backlash to all the talk but no action approach? I appreciate the issue's complex, but I'm just wondering if we're seeing a sea change. And if we are, then I think the violent reactions that we've been experiencing are just beginning. In fact, they're reinforcing that trend. If it is a sea change, then you can bet there's much more violence to come. And it's going to undermine confidence in government and government institutions. And once that happens, all bets are off.